job, not only for this event, but for the masterclass series in general. It's turned out to be a fantastic activity for the college, and we're very pleased. It's really an honor and a privilege for me tonight to introduce not only a colleague, but also a friend. James Nass has been working with us at the college for a number of years, helping us to put together our media and advertising campaigns. And I'll say a couple things from his speaker profile, which you can read for yourselves, and then a couple of very embarrassing things about what a wonderful individual James is. During his career, he's had the responsibility of multinational and local advertising in both New York and Athens, where he was worldwide account director for a number of major accounts, including Coca-Cola, Seagram, and JP Morgan, as well as in Greece, where he's had responsibility for brands such as Unilever, Dixon's, Pozovolo, Electroworld, Johnson & Johnson, Sony, and the list goes on and on. It's an impressive collection of accomplishments. Since 2002, he's been the president and managing director of Low Athens, and for more than 2 years now, a great friend of the college, and I've come to greatly admire and respect James for the work that he's done. And I'm happy to call him not only a colleague, but a great friend. And it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce him tonight as he presents the masterclass case study, Social Failure, How Social Media Can Damage Your Brand. So please, a hand for James.
Thank you very much, Todd. It's an honor. And it's an honor for me to be here. I'm going to teach you how to fail this evening. And I hope that's a refreshing change, because usually you guys are taught how to succeed. Now, I feel very qualified to do that because I'm not a social media expert. But then again, is anyone? When I did a Google search for the term social media fail, I got 36.5 million results. When I did the term social media success, I only got 21 million. So there's a lot more failures and successes in social media, and I'm going to try and talk about each and every one of them tonight. Not really. All right, why? Why is social media? It's an absolutely wonderful thing, but just like teen sex, everyone wants to do it. Nobody knows how, and when it's finally done, they're surprised that it's not better. So, is that why the love affair between brands and social media is over? Did you know that? It is over, by the way. 62% of Fortune 500 companies have corporate Twitter accounts, but that's only an increase of 2% between 2010 and 2011. And it's only an increase of 2% in Twitter account, in Facebook accounts as well, between the 2 years. So the growth in the use of social media among Fortune 500 companies, or the creme de la creme of U.S. corporate innovation, are slowing down their adoption of social media. Why is that happening? Well, according to Dr. Barnes at Dartmouth, she sees this as a leveling off and possibly retrenchment when it comes to the adoption of social media. It seems that this wonderful thing is a little more complicated than people first thought. It's here to stay, that's for sure. We're not going to see Facebook go away, don't worry, or Twitter, or LinkedIn, or Pinterest. Every day there's a new one. But it's more complicated. And the reason it's more complicated is because the love affair with social media has had a few rough spots lately, and even huge global brands have fallen on their face. So I'm going to show you some of the famous examples that have occurred in 2011. The first social media fail is Burger King. Burger King is a very famous brand in the U.S. It's the #2 fast food chain after McDonald's. Actually, last week it slipped to #3. And maybe this is why, you'll see. What they decided back in 2005, with profits decreasing and their franchisees unhappy, they decided to take dramatic action and redefine themselves. Not do the classical advertising campaign, mass media, traditional. They wanted to figure out new ways to approach their target, which is mostly young men. That's the epicenter. they're not as family-oriented as McDonald's. So along with their agency, Kristen Porter Bogusky, which in my opinion is like the best agency in the U.S. They're fantastic. You should check out their website when you get a chance. They embarked on a new way of brand communication, inexpensive, non-traditional media channels, such as Facebook, Twitter, etc., to reach target consumers. And they did a lot of different social media campaigns. I'm going to show you the last one they did. It's called Whopper Sacrifice. Whopper is their big burger, for those of you who don't know. Now, Whopper Sacrifice sort of pitted the Whopper against your friends. What they asked you to do was unfriend 10 friends and get a burger. So with a burger costing about $3.80, that means that each one of your Facebook friends is about 38 cents. So the teaser was, what would you do for a free Whopper? Would you get rid of some friends? Well, that gathered 82,771 users in 3 weeks and 32 million media impressions. So by any standard, in terms of impact, buzz, penetration, awareness, whatever, they were doing very well. And here is their story.
Burger King knew that America loved the Whopper, but wanted to prove it. So it turned to Facebook and put the love to the test. Everybody loves adding friends, but is that simply because it's fun to see your friend list pile up? Well, what if there was a way to dump friends and get rewarded for it? And what if this turned into a race to dump them before they dumped you? Meet Whopper Sacrifice. Delete 10 friends and receive a free Whopper. A true moral dilemma, a telling choice. What do you love more? Your friends or the Whopper? A difficult question to answer. Or was it? Almost instantly, people were sacrificing their friends for Whoppers like crazy, to the tune of 200,000 friends sacrificed in just over a week. And people's burning desire to dump friends for the Whopper challenged the very concept of Facebook. Instead of embracing this new marketing opportunity and the 35 million free media impressions it received, Facebook began limiting its functionality, ultimately forcing Burger King to take it down. Whopper Sacrifice had been sacrificed. But despite the application's short-lived activation, Burger King proved what it knew to be true: that Americans love the Whopper more than they love their friends.
And that little lion in the top right-hand corner means they won the Cannes Lion Award for this campaign. So it was a success for the agency in every way, except some. The result, more than 230,000 friends were eventually unfriended before Facebook stopped it, when they realized that they were about making friends, not losing or burning friends or trading them for burgers. But they did get a lot of buzz, a lot of media. But the result, they were fired. Kristen Porter Bogusky was fired by Burger King pretty soon after this campaign. And everybody said, why? What did they do wrong? Well, in the end, clients hire ad agencies to bring market share, to bring sales. And actually Burger King was losing market share and losing sales versus McDonald's. So a lot of buzz, but they thought social media would bring them market share. And it didn't. Let's look at another case of social media fail. This is Kenneth Cole. Now, this is not a brand that's in Greece, but it's a big fashion brand in the U.S. He's very trendy, and he always says something very witty and comments on events. And during the Arab Spring last year, he turned from a very cool fashion brand to a very cold fashion brand. Because during the Arab Spring, he said, millions are in uproar in Cairo. Rumor is they heard our new spring collection is now available online at blah, blah, blah. This was signed by Kenneth Cole, the owner of the company. He thought he was being very cute during a moment of extreme crisis in the Middle East. And the reaction was very harsh. And so he did apology number 1. This was the first of many apologies that he had to do after that spontaneous little tweet. How much harm can a little tweet do? A lot. This is the second apology. Read your tweet, and there's more and more. He had to do a lot of face saving in order to assure people that he was not just a silly fashionista. Let's look at social media number 3. This is a big brand that you all know. It's CHRYSLER. Chrysler had come back from the brink since 2008 when it almost went bankrupt, and it was saved. In 2011, they were back, they were strong, they had a new car, the Chrysler 200. Their city, Detroit, where the Chrysler are made, had experienced a smaller birth. They hadn't lost all the jobs they were afraid they were going to lose during the crisis. So they made a huge TV spot. In fact, it was the first 2-minute TV spot ever played on the Super Bowl. And it starred Eminem singing his song Lose Yourself while driving the Chrysler 200. Now, they believed in this spot so much that they spent, just for one appearance in the Super Bowl, they spent $14 million. Now, that's not all they spent. They also spent to run it through media. So they spent hundreds of millions of dollars to support this TV campaign to bring back the pride in Detroit. Their tagline was imported from Detroit, and it was a salute to their car, their ingenuity, and Detroit. And this is the spot. It's like very expensive.
I got a question for you. What does this city know about luxury? Huh? What does a town that's been to hell and back know about the fine things in life? Well, I'll tell you, more than most. You see, it's the hottest fires that make the heart steel. Add hard work and the know-how that runs generations deep in every last one of us. That's who we are. That's our story. Now, it's probably not the one you've been reading in the papers, the one being written by folks who've never even been here, don't know what we're capable of. Because when it comes to luxury, it's as much about where it's from as who it's for. Now, we're from America, but this isn't New York City, or the Windy City, or Sin City, and we're certainly no one's Emerald City.
City. This is what we do.
Millions of people in the U.S. got goosebumps.
I love this ad.
I love it too.
I'm from Detroit.
I love this ad too. And you know what? They spent a lot of money. They had a choir, a gospel choir. They had Eminem. They had everybody in Detroit as an extra. And the next morning, this is the tweet that appeared. I'll let you read it. Okay, now this is signed by Chrysler. The same company that made the TV spot also is responsible for this tweet. Apparently, they had a junior guy, young guy, running the Twitter account, and he got mixed up between his personal Twitter account and the So, that spot cost $14 million just for one. This tweet cost even more. And here it comes, the parade of apologies. Yesterday, Chrysler apologized for a profane message about Detroit drivers that was sent into its Twitter feed by an employee at social media firm New Media Strategies, who was then fired. Today, Chrysler announced it fired New Media Strategies. So the little guy and his company probably cannot find a job in that town again.
We're a tough city.
Okay. United Airlines. Another, probably may not know this airline, except in the States it's one of the top 5 airlines. And this is another kind of social media fail. What we saw before was like social media falling into the wrong hands, being treated sort of spontaneously like a lark, and bad things happening. This is when the real world comes and punishes you via social media. So let's look at this. United Airlines, one of the 5 largest airlines in the U.S., broke David Carroll's guitar during his trip. And when he called to get compensation, they basically gave him a runaround, ignored him, and did nothing. So he uploaded a music video on YouTube. And unfortunately for United Airlines, he's got a great voice.
Knowing whose projectiles these would be. So before I left Chicago, I alerted 3 employees who showed complete indifference towards me. You broke my Taylor guitar. Cause United breaks guitars.
It's a 4-minute song, and it's all great, and it always ends up with United Breaks Guitar. And that stuck with them. And 4 days after the video's released, United Airlines stock price dropped 10%. It cost stockholders $180 million. And the day the video's a smash hit, he's got a career. And big fail for United Airlines. Big prop for David Carroll. I think we all would like to do this to an airline someday. Okay, here's another one. Red Bull. Red Bull is a soft drink. It goes to young people. And they decided, since we have a young target, we're going to use QR codes. Does everybody know what a QR code is? Basically, if you see a QR code anywhere on a newspaper, on a billboard, you put your smartphone on it, it shows you videos, it takes you into the experience of the brand. Great idea for reaching the young target that Red Bull goes after. This is their ad. You can see lower right is the QR code. Unfortunately, this is running in the subway, in the metro. There's no signal. There's no internet signal in the metro. That was a problem. Qantas. Okay, I'm always talking about airlines today, but I have a thing about them. Major Australian airline in November 2011. All these things have happened around the same time in 2011, but they keep happening in 2012 as well. They decided to sponsor a Twitter contest. Qantas asked followers to describe their deep dream luxury in-flight experience and pledged to award the top tweeters with pajamas and toiletries. And I managed to find a picture of the actual pajamas and toiletries to show you today. What a great idea they had. And here's their call to action, their Twitter, where they ask people to be creative when they answer. And boy, was everybody creative. Because Qantas had recently had a quarrel with the unions and had stranded thousands of passengers around the world when they stopped taking off. Maybe some of you had heard about that incident. So the timing of this PR exercise was highly questionable. That's their PR officer trying to explain how they grounded so many people all over the world. So, all the tweets were really creative. One said, a social media campaign has proven to be the latest public relations woe for Qantas. Quick note to corporate Australia, when you're in the middle of crushing your workforce, don't start a Twitter promotion. Another one talked about missing their best friend's funeral. And another one talked about, pity you've crashed the brand into the ground from 30,000 feet. And of course, there's always a YouTube video when things like this happen. So I want to show it to you. I think every one of these social media fails had somebody saying, can we please turn Facebook, Twitter, or whatever it was off for an hour? Okay, here's another one. This one is from Singapore. It's called The Forbidden Love Story. Started with a love story. Mark and Audrey were deeply in love with each other, but neither of the families approved of the match. This was because Mark was 23 years old and Audrey was 47. So they set up a Facebook page calling out for blessings. Spread to your friends. Perhaps as a way to reach out for support for their forbidden love. Well, people love that. Thousands of supporters flocked to the Facebook page, liked, sent wishes, blessings, whatever they could for Mark and Audrey. And Mark and Audrey also uploaded a lot of videos of themselves. One of the videos they uploaded was a video where Mark was going to his big day, the wedding, with his groomsmen. And in the parking lot, when Mark had gotten into the limo, he suddenly remembered he forgot something in the apartment, so he got out of the car and rushed to retrieve it, and suddenly we hear the sound of screeching tires and an impact, a crash. The groomsmen quickly ran out of the car to go find Mark, what had happened to him. And the next thing that appeared on the screen was a disclaimer. In short, it stated that the story of Mark and Audrey was fictionalized, designed to make people aware of the uncertainties in life. Apparently an insurance company was behind it. They decided to do something viral. Isn't viral great? People were so upset that the insurance company did not disclose its name, although everybody in Singapore knows who it is. And there is a backlash for doing that, for playing with people's feelings. You have to remember you're dealing with real life, not just the social media. So, I said, am I being unfair? Am I just picking and choosing all these failures in 1 year? Of course people are going to make mistakes. Maybe there's not going to be any more. Well, last Friday, I think it was March 20th, yeah? Yeah, Friday afternoon, exactly around this time, a week ago. Belvedere Vodka, which has a healthy following on Twitter with 10,263 followers, and Facebook, almost 1 million fans, posted the following ad on both of these accounts. It was a social media ad just created for social media. So, just to explain, it's a pregnant woman, and I'm not explaining as fully as I could. A pregnant woman being grabbed by a smiling man with the accompanying phrase, unlike some people, Belvedere always goes down smoothly, implying she will be forced into something against her wishes. So, of course, they had immediate outrage reactions. This frat boy humor is a terrible mistake, especially when you're an alcohol brand. I mean, they spend tons of money reassuring people that, we know what we're doing, we're not helping people become violent or crash their cars. Sensitivity around the role alcohol plays in sexual assault really compounds this area.
It's such a stupid ad, and I don't know what they were thinking, but as you mentioned, in a best case scenario, it was a mistake. But I don't see how it was a mistake. I think that they found that humorous. Look at the fruit, you want to go down. But you know what? You know what goes down smoothly? Our vodka.
Time magazine quickly had a story on their newsfeed. So did Forbes. And the New York Daily News, and countless other media. Belvedere's owners are Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, so fancy luggage and champagne. This was not what they wanted for their corporate image. And they were called disgusting, and there were promises to boycott the message. Now, they compounded the error by issuing a non-apology. So this was the apology. We apologize to any of our fans who were offended by our recent tweet. We continue to be an advocate of safe and responsible drinking. You know, it's like, basically they say, bro, sorry if you were offended. You're too sensitive. Well, they had to follow up because people started getting really mad. With a lot of, I'm just picking a few, but it was just like, even now when you go on Google and you search Belvedere vodka, it's not unlinked from the word rape. And it will always be there because the internet doesn't forget. So, never fail, never touching your product ever again. Fascinated by Belvedere vodka's non-apology apology, which seems to assume that most of our customers think rape is awesome. So they decided, okay, let's do something a better apology. We deeply regret this lapse. As we all know, alcohol and good decision-making don't often go together well. The company says it's conducting an internal investigation to determine how the terrible decision to post aside was made. So another little guy and his agency are on the street, you know, and maybe correctly. All right, this wasn't enough. So now they have true remorse. This is the third one, or maybe the fourth. This is like somebody now speaks, introduces himself, says, I'm Jason Lundy, Senior VP of Global Marketing for Belvedere. As an expression of our deep disappointment and regret, we are making a charitable donation to a women's support cause. We deeply apologize to our fans and followers. Now this is what it took for people to stop. I mean, there were crowds of people with fire torches waiting outside their offices. So, it's amazing that these mistakes happen, yet they're going to continue happening because we think social media is technology and it's just communication. So some of the lessons that I gleaned from researching to unfail. Okay, now I'm going to start talking about unfailing rather than failing. First of all, if you're going to work with social media, get used to the idea that you do not have control. It's based on the principle of handing control over to the consumer, the people. You're starting a dialogue just like you do in real life. What you say, you can't control what you're going to hear as an answer. So you can start the dialogue, not control it. Train yourself to the idea that you don't control the game. Try to make sure that the limits of the agenda are set by you early on. So make sure you don't allow yourself to get into places like where Belvedere vodka went. And then be prepared to handle the unpredictable. So, relinquish control, but plan ahead is the message. Set brand goals and objectives for each piece of social media marketing. Just like in old-fashioned, traditional, oh-so-boring, offline advertising, where there's no way an ad comes out without having been vetted by group after group, sometimes research, the top management, and yet with social media that seems to fall apart. People say, oh come on, just Facebook, just Twitter. Do not tweet randomly. Do not share indiscriminately. Do not upload and pray. There's a lot of uploading and praying. I hope this works. Well, no. Organizations who execute random acts of social media and marketing, there's a term for it, it's called rasms, may injure their brands irreparably. Unfair lesson number 3 is align your online presence with reality. Realize that you're in the real world. Even though you're in the confines of social media, it's communicating with the real world. And also realize when you're in the real world that social media can also slap you down so hard. Consumer has so much more power than they did. They can say United breaks guitars and that'll stay with you forever. Social media unfail lesson 4. If you're a bright, young, fresh, talented, tech-savvy professional who's in charge of your brand's social media, make sure you have an old, cynical, technologically clueless, cautious, conservative communications pro lurking in the background for advice once in a while. I'm available. Lesson 5, make sure that you can respond in real time. Social media is not free. It actually requires an army of people. Everybody thinks, well, it doesn't cost anything. There are so many costs behind social media if you want to do it right. Or if you want to protect your company when you make the mistake. The speeds online are unprecedented. Belvedere made the mistake last Friday. By Wednesday, they were in a full fire. It's like a forest fire. And by the only thing that extinguished it was their offering a lot of money to a good cause. So be ready to handle huge volumes of information and make sure that you have the capacity to deal with them effectively and quickly. Also, be prepared to apologize fully, completely, and humbly. Prostrate yourself. Kneel down, because they won't take anything less. They'll make you apologize again and again until they get what they want. And I think the biggest lesson is learning that social media are not there to directly sell. A well-designed social media activation may create engagement, fuel bonding with your brand, make it more familiar and exciting, and boost the image. But it hardly ever leads directly to sales. Now, note the use of the word directly. Indirectly, everything can lead to sales. Directly, no. If you design a social media campaign with a prime objective of boosting sales, you will most likely create something lame, non-engaging, and ineffective. So, the rules are, so successful social media leads to love, admiration, and engagement, and bad social media leads to hate, disgust, and hostility. But the best thing you can get from social media is love, admiration, engagement, and that's not a small thing. Successful mass media advertising leads to sales, sales, and sales. If it's successful, that's what it's supposed to do. So, social media is there for love, mass advertising is there for respect. And usually, we humans like to have both, and we should have both. But if you have to choose, I took a page from the ad contrarian, Bob Hoffman, who said, we don't get them to try our product by convincing them to love our brand. We get them to love our brand by getting them to try our product. It doesn't work the other way around. Thank you very much. I'm here for any questions, if anybody has any. Not difficult questions.
So this turns the concept of any advertising is good advertising on its head?
For me, for it to be advertising better be good. Otherwise it's defamatory. I don't think, it does turn it on its head. Everybody's saying if there's buzz around your brand, you haven't lost. I think Belvedere lost a lot. It's a premium, for example, I'm just talking about the last case. I think United Airlines lost a lot. I mean, each and every one of them lost a lot. Maybe Red Bull didn't lose that much. They just lost the money it cost to pay for that campaign. Everybody else lost. Share value and goodwill, things that are in balance sheets. So no, I think that's why we're seeing a lot of the Forbes 500 not turning to social media in droves the way they were before. They're still using it, but they're using it carefully because it's dangerous if not handled properly.
How impactful are social media in Greece? Are there similar experiences here, or is yet so developed?
I haven't seen a really, you know what? I haven't seen a really bad, I look for one, I really did. We do a lot of social media at our agency as well. So I wanted this to be a cautionary tale primarily for the people at our agency, as well as being an interesting talk. I have not seen it, maybe because we have so many other bigger fails that social media just can't keep up right now. But no, we don't. No, we're careful. Apparently we're careful. We've had some good successes, and nothing that has embarrassed any brand.
Actually, there is on Facebook, and it is called Banish a Friend, where you can delete a friend that you don't know from your account, but I'm not so sure if it is directly related to the company or they just use the logo of Banish. So it's exactly the same with earlier post by Gabriel. Banish a Friend. They use the brand name of the Banish.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to put that in my next presentation. I didn't know that. Maybe the reason it's not famous is because maybe it hasn't caught on yet, or I haven't heard about it, but it's interesting.
There's a new trend coming up now, and it's called Facebook Shop, where the companies are allowed to put their products. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, actually it's not doing so well. The Gap closed it down. Quite a few Facebook shops, because it's not a good selling venue. You're not on Facebook to buy stuff. You're on Facebook to talk to your friends, you know, and so it doesn't seem to be working well. I know the Gap has closed down, and till a few minutes ago I remember all the other brands that haven't managed to do well either, but there's been about 5 or 6 brands that have shut down their Facebook storefront. And I think it just goes to show that Facebook is there for friends, it's not there for brands. Have you noticed on Facebook that you rarely look at the ads, or you less frequently look at the ads on the right-hand side? Now they're starting to incorporate your friends into the ads, your friends' names into the ads, so that you'll pay attention to them. Because before that, people were not looking at that. They were just looking at the feed. They wanted to know what their friends were saying, not what some brand was saying. So the only way a brand can survive on Facebook is if it becomes a friend, not if it becomes a store, is my opinion.
In your opinion, what are the best practices? Are there companies who are doing it really well now on Facebook and Twitter?
Yes, there are. I think Coca-Cola, Diet Coke has done really good work. I have an incredible example that I wanted to bring, but I didn't get all my information together. It's about an amazing case that could be relevant to Greece as well. It's for the town of Graubünden in Switzerland, population 80. And what they did was they invited people to send their Facebook photo, to like their brand on Facebook. And their Facebook photo would get posted on the town's bulletin board. In the same bulletin board where they post the births and all the weddings and all the other announcements, they will have your picture in the Graubünden Central Square. They have more friends than Lady Gaga. And they're still there. And they are, if you put Graubünden on Google, or Switzerland tourism on Google, it's the first story, it's the first town that comes up. They've done an amazing job. And sometimes I think we should do that in Greece. But I just found out about it.
There's a nice YouTube video about this town.
Oh.
What they did, Greece.
Yeah.
If I find the link, I will let you know.
Well, we should do the same thing for
Yeah.
Thessaloniki or something. I don't know, smaller.
There are countries that are using social media like Iceland, Sweden, and then they're doing really well.
Yeah, because they're developing a relationship. They're not trying to directly increase sales. But
how would you evaluate the outsourcing the social media that inside from the company?
outsourcing?
All activities.
Well, I think it's a mistake, but I'm an ad agency. Okay. The reason I think you should use ad, the same people who are creating your campaign should normally be very much involved, maybe not creating if they don't have the technology, very much involved in your social media. Otherwise you get situations like beautiful big American campaign from Chrysler and some other little company handling their Twitter and not having the same commitment to the campaign as their ad agency did. It needs to be synchronized. So I don't believe in outsourcing. So far that has been the trend. The trend has been the younger, the cheaper, the better. I think it needs to be younger because young people naturally understand social media. But I also think it needs to have some senior judgment involved, just like every ad campaign does. Thank you very much.